Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. I'd like to call this meeting to order the Polk County Board of Commissioners. Today is Wednesday, December 13th. All commissioners are present. There are copies of agendas on the back table there. Please help yourself. First on the agenda are any comments for items not on the agenda? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Also move. Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from December 6th?
So moved. I'll second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
And is there a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye, motion carries. Next on the agenda, we have guests from Alyrica Networks to provide an update on their project. We have Sam and Madison. Please join us.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Go ahead.
Hello, I recognize some faces. My name is Madison and I'm the Public Partnership Coordinator with Alyrica. Is this okay? Okay,
Picks you up.
okay,
Well.
okay, perfect.
Yeah, and Sam Dotson, the CEO of Alyrica Networks. Very excited to be here. Happy to have done this partnership with Polk County. So.
And we were gonna have Jason Richards here today, but so change of plans, but I had already submitted the slide deck, so the names are not correct.
No worries.
Okay. So I can drive this properly.
Yeah, so today we're going to be going over the project recently completed in the current state of service here in Polk County. And then we're going to move to our project proposal, looking forward to future funding opportunities with the Oregon BDP program, as well as BEAD. Then from there, Madison's going to cover down on a little bit more of the details around those public funding opportunities. All right, so the current state, Alyrica Networks started its partnership with Polk County in 2020 during the pandemic, in which it was identified through the CARES Act that there was a need for broadband in an emergent fashion for areas like Polk County. Partnering with Polk County, we initially built first a 6-tower project that covered a fairly large swath of Polk County. But then in 2022, we determined that the North Dallas area, fairly heavily wooded and rolling hill area there north of Dallas, you can see on the map, was still lacking adequate service. So in 2020, partnering with Polk County, we proposed the construction of several towers in order to serve 97% of the target area. So through 2022, basically from April 2022 until June of 2023, we were able to complete the project with services turning up as early as January 2023. So you can see the service area there in the map with kind of the zoom out to show you relative to the greater Polk County area. The target area is the square inside of that map there, where we identified underserved residents here in Polk County. So since then, Alyrica Networks utilize the funding from in partnership with Polk County plus a match of its own in order to construct the 5 towers and deliver service to 240 residents within the target service area. Now, these towers, being wireless internet service towers, serve a total of 315 residents within Polk County, but 240 are in the area targeted for the grant. So the services delivered through this project are utilizing the Tarana G1 platform. This delivers plan speeds of 400 by 50 at the upper end and as low as 50 by 10 megabits per second. So modern, robust internet service over wireless in the most rural parts of Polk County. So very excited to have done that in a very short timeline and on a much smaller budget than what was originally proposed with our wireless proposal or our fiber proposal. So very happy to do it. Just in total, so just kind of recap both projects. So we've done now both the 2020 project and 2022 project in Polk County. Those projects are servicing over 770 residents in Polk County. Beyond that, with our own private investment, Elyrica today serves over 1,400 residents in Polk County. So the combination of public and private dollars has gone a long way in ensuring high-speed internet is available throughout the most rural parts of Polk County.
Question.
Yes.
So just to be clear, do you affirm that all 1,400 are on fixed wireless?
All 1,400 are on fixed wireless today.
Thank you.
Yep.
I asked that question because of our current argument with the state and federal government over the relevancy of fixed wireless systems and their failure to completely understand that it appears in potential future funding projects. So we're demonstrating right here how valid it is and how our cost per mile is much better with this type of system. And the service, I think, is quite robust.
Thank you. Yes, and as you can see with the design of this network, some of the ways we were able to overcome the foliage as well as ensure that anyone that calls within the area is capable of getting service without running out of capacity on the fixed wireless system is simply to place the towers in a closer proximity to each other. So these are roughly 2 miles apart for each tower, which ensures non-line of sight service through heavy foliage, as well as capacities per sector that allow us to be able to say yes to each and every resident that calls us within the target area. Next slide. All right, so I'll kick it over to Madison, but we're pretty excited about a service area that we've kind of identified in conjunction with some communication with Polk County, and I'll let you walk us through it.
Yeah. So as Sam highlighted, through our continued conversation with the county, we know that there's still work to be done. There's still a need. And so based on some preliminary analysis, we've located an area that we think could serve as a tower location site to provide service to 172 of the addresses that are currently, the 182 that are unserved currently. And that would again be using the Toronto P1 platform that Sam was highlighting before. And so approximate cost at this point would be around $150,000 to do that. And so we've shared a little bit of our thoughts there and our intentions around pursuing some funding applications to help provide that service to help pay for that. And see if I can move into the next one. So that leads us into the landscape, the conversation around what is the current funding situation. So, we're in it all the time and we're participating in the conversation all the time with the Oregon Broadband Office and the NTIA. And there's a myriad of different funding opportunities that are going to become available, some sooner than others. And the funding opportunity that we're looking at most closely for this particular project, the proposal that we just highlighted, would be the third box there, the ARPA Capital Projects Fund. So we know that this opportunity, what we hear from the Oregon Broadband Office, this funding opportunity will become available in Q1 of next year. And so we have a design ready, we have a proposal ready to go that we could submit quickly that we think would align nicely with this particular funding opportunity. And I think we have some evidence to show that the technology we've been using here in partnership with you all has been successful. And I think we've had some really robust and effective conversation with the Oregon Broadband Office recently, in fact, visiting some of the towers that we've been able to construct recently to advocate for this type of technology. And so for this particular proposal, we do plan on submitting an application specific for the ARPA Capital Projects Fund, which, like I said, is coming available soon. So a lot of people are talking about the BEAD money. If you're hearing that, I'm sure at some level it's a lot of money, but it's going to take some time for that to shake out. And if you're participating in the conversation and you're keeping your ears open to that conversation, we know it's not going to shake out until 2025. Maybe. So there's still a lot of work to be done there. And so we all know that the need is now, right? You have folks that need service now. And so we're going to do what we can to work with you all to find an effective solution that gets your residents great service and gets it quickly and uses the best use of public dollars. So that's our intention for that project. And then of course, we do have our eyes set on BEAD. If there's things that aren't able to shake out through the capital projects fund, it's a much smaller pool of money. We'll think creatively about how to maximize use of public dollars through other funding opportunities, but that one is the one that's coming up the soonest. So yeah, we're happy to share any additional information or share what we know around all that activity. But those are sort of the main highlights. I think maybe some folks are familiar with the BTAP funding, the uses for that. And so doesn't quite align here with what we would be pursuing, but certainly an option if it aligned with some of your initiatives there. But around preliminary analysis and engineering and feasibility studies and things like that. But yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on it, said it on the slide, but the target area is the Eola Hills area. They're just west of Salem. So when we using our mapping software, we determined that with a single tower location, we could service up to 172 of the 182 addresses identified in that location as unserved. Those are direct to tower connections. Additional solutions would have to be developed for those remaining 10 addresses in that service area. So yeah, very excited to have done that. Madison also mentioned the state of Oregon wanted to see the viability of this technology. So we actually brought them out to one of the tower sites of this last project out there on James Howe Road. And we're able to show them the deployment footprint, show them some of the installations, relatively low profile radios on the roof line, delivering through, as you can see from driving out there, a very wooded area. So I think the state of Oregon was able to walk away with a greater understanding of the value and usefulness of fixed wireless as a solve for rural areas. I guess we'll open up to any questions.
Yeah.
Is that ARPA capital project fund currently open to fixed wireless projects? Or are those conversations still in the works?
So technically the rules are still in draft form technically, but we know that the handbook, the rules are pretty close to what they're going to be in final state. And so, really it's supposed to be technology agnostic. So I think, I think we have a viable case, to present for, what we would be pursuing there. Yeah.
And then that project cost, is that the match plus 150,000 total for this project? I assume or is that your?
So 150,000 would be the grant award we would be looking for.
Gotcha.
The additional match is any project overages plus the actual installation connection of the residents via Lyrica Networks. So this would effectively, the $150,000 budget would effectively pay for the vertical infrastructure to provide service in that location. And then Lyrica would take on the cost of actually connecting the homes.
Excellent work. I just have one more question. Can you speak to any challenges in implementation along the way? Are you saying there was no landscape or topographical challenges? Is that what you're claiming? And then also, have you run into any other right-of-way issues or anything with other big providers that have?
Yeah, so I think the largest challenge with fixed wireless, so obviously other providers become an issue in wireline services quite often where you've got limited pole attachment constraints. This obviously is not the case because we're constructing our own vertical assets to perform installations and then delivery of service is obviously wireless, so we're not dependent on right-of-way access. But the difficulties that we primarily see is we're primarily leasing private land. So finding willing and able landowners can be a challenge, although what we found within Polk County is that there's a lot of great landowners who are more than happy to host tower site and work with us on delivering faster internet to themselves and to their neighbors. And in each one of those scenarios, we found amazing sponsors for these tower sites. There was only one site where we had found a sponsor, but the neighbors weren't so inclined to have the infrastructure put in adjacent to their properties. So we had to relocate, respecting the will of those neighbors. And we found another sponsor that was able to get us going, but it did delay the project. So I mentioned earlier, we first turned up service in January, and then subsequently turned up more services in March. That June completion date was pushed out to June because of that one location that we had to find a new sponsor for. So that did delay the project by about 3 months when we had to rework the permitting and everything else involved in that process. So the majority of constructing these tower sites is primarily finding agreeable landowners who are more than happy to allow for the construction of the infrastructure. And then the permitting process is probably the majority of the timeline for this project. So we budget roughly 6 months for permitting. The actual construction phase of once the permits are all greenlit and we're ready to place a tower, it's 2 days. So the actual placement of the tower is pretty quick. And then the construction and placement of the equipment on tower is another 2.5 days. So in totality, the entire from the time we place the vertical asset to the time that we can turn it on is roughly 4.5 days or 1 working week. The only other holdup we ran into is just working with the public utilities. They've got a lot of demand on their system, and we can't always control the availability of their linemen to come out and green tag and turn up services. So I would say between permitting and working with the public utilities, those are the primary constraints on our timeline. But other than that, it has a lot of advantages by bypassing right-of-way constraints and pole attachment constraints that you see with wireline services.
Yeah, I really appreciate the constructive ways in which you contacted private landowners and worked with them for mutual benefit. So really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Great work.
I don't have a question. I just want to give you a shout out because I've directed people to you several times, and living in the bottom of draws, actually, they've been told no for so many years. You've been able to, between pinging from homes, able to get them wireless, and this whole region is constantly in my ear. When are we going to get internet available? So I'm really excited that you have this project going forward. There are a lot of homes up there where they're lucky to get TV. Cell phones, it is just a big black hole, let alone internet. So getting this project going, it's going to make a whole lot of people, a huge area, very happy. So, and I'm also one of your benefactors where I live. So thank you for your efforts and your ability that you're putting forward for all of us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will, as a part of that application that we'll be submitting, we will be coming to the county commissioners for, letters of support to help endorse that. Yeah. So when that time comes, we'll certainly submit those requests.
We'll advocate too individually. Folks we know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I do have a couple questions. First, I'm going to make a comment with regard to ditto, what my fellow commissioners have said with regard to Lyrica. Great job. And my observations in working with this project for several years and with you for several years, you're heads up above others that I've seen in wireless services. So I sing your praises a lot. I would also acknowledge Tarana and what a magnificent process this has been, watching that technology grow with us as we have learned, as we've tried to find places and money to invest in getting people powered up with broadband as quickly as we possibly can. So it really is remarkable seeing this Tarana technology coming online along with us and giving you more options and more opportunities to serve people. That said, however, I can't let this go without putting it on the record. We still can't serve everybody. Again, acknowledging that there are some certain circumstances where people have not had service and have gotten some service with this technology. We do still get people that will call us or email us and somehow communicate with us that they're not getting service. I encourage them to continue to reach back out to you, try again, keep looking, because of how the technology is changing. And perhaps that's improved from the last time that they talked to you, maybe 5 years ago. So I know that it has advanced. So I just want to make certain to acknowledge we're all trying our best to get this infrastructure to every home that is not going to likely get served by a fiber service. But we also see fiber service coming along in a much more competitive way in Polk County than ever before. And then finally, I want to end with asking the question about rates, because rates have become a bigger conversation as there are now more providers in a lot of areas for people to choose from. What are the rates like with Illyrica, and how do they compare with other line services?
Yeah, so we charge the same rates across all of our territories. I first want to say that. So we don't charge more for rural customers than we do if you're in Corvallis, Oregon, or Albany, Oregon, right? It's the same price point, whether or not you're in a suburban space or in a rural space. So with that being said, we try to be market competitive. Now we're not a price leader, so our plans range from $59.99 to $99.99. So we do have a fairly, what we believe is a market competitive rate. We don't seek to gouge rural areas where they have fewer options that we've definitely seen in the past with some providers. So we're looking to remain market competitive, but we're also not looking to be a price leader because we want to maintain a high level of service. And we know that in order to do that, we need to charge a fair but adequate rate to ensure that level of service. So I'll just say it one more time, but we offer services from $59.99 a month up to $99.99 a month for residential customers. Thank you. Did that answer the question?
I think it does. I want to
Okay.
make sure you got that on the record.
I will also mention that we do participate in ACP. So if individuals qualify for the Affordable Connectivity Program, as long as that's ongoing through the federal program, we're more than happy to process their claim.
For folks that reach a certain income threshold.
Yes.
Correct. So if you're on food stamps, you probably more than likely qualify for ACP or any other similar federal benefits program. And that's $30 a month off your plan. And that is probably the availability of those funds is pending congressional approval for the continuation of that program. So
Yeah.
I think there's still funds for probably another 6 to 8 months,
Yeah.
but we're more than happy to participate in that program as long as the federal government continues to fund it.
Mhm.
Well, thank you both. Thanks, Madison. Thanks, Sam, for
Yeah.
being with us. Thanks for the partnership, and look forward to that continuing.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, next up, we have the ambulance service area discussion. Just want to again thank the ASA committee members for all of their work over the last 2 years. We did open a public hearing on November 29th, kept the written record open for a couple of weeks. We received quite a bit of testimony and want to thank the public for contacting us. We've read everything, got information sent to us as late as yesterday and this morning. So I appreciate everybody's participation. Next, we're going to, that record is closed now. So we are ready to discuss, and we will begin with a staff recommendation. Mr. Hanson.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. As you just noted, we had a public hearing 2 weeks ago on this very subject. We are looking at a staff proposal. You have a staff proposal map in the back there. This is a staff recommendation to the board. Staff took it on after that meeting, tried to incorporate all the information that the county has received, both in comments and proposals from Dallas and Southwest Polk. Also, the consultants that we hired as part of the original project. We tried to take into consideration a better designed map that follows county roads and service delivery areas to the residents, not just a straight line that may dissect their house. And if you're in the living room, you get one service district, and if you're in the family room, you may get another. So worked with GIS. Eric is our GIS person. Developed this map. As you can see, there are 7 ASA areas on this map. We had 7 originally. What we're doing is modifying ASA 2 and ASA 6. All the remaining ASA areas remain the same as they were in the previous assignment for ambulance service districts. The two in question, ASA 2 used to be served by Amity / McMinnville. We're eliminating them as a service delivery partner, and then incorporating Southwest Polk into ASA 2. This ASA 2 is much different than the ASA 2 that was previous. The previous ASA 2 was just the north section of that blue area. So we expanded ASA 2 to allow for Southwest Polk to have a much greater area. And as a result of ASA 2 enlarging, ASA 6, which is the service area served by Dallas currently, became smaller. So everything basically to the north and to the east for ASA 6 is now incorporated into ASA 2, which is Southwest Polk. There was a lot of discussion internally with staff and that about the ability for Southwest Polk to provide service out of their 3 stations, with only having 2 ambulances to deliver that service. Whether they would locate based on, you know, they have 3 sites, you know where those are: Bridgeport, Salt Creek, and Rickrail. Whether you only can have 2 ambulances at those 3. Staff felt it was much easier for them to service the north and east sections of the county, and then continue to have ASA 6, which is Dallas, serve that south region or the Bridgeport region. Whether that's correct or not, that will be a final decision by the board, but that's what staff came to the conclusion, that they have 3 stations. They only have 2 ambulances. They can't serve all 3 equally until they expand. So we felt that moving to the northern section of ASA 2 was the best recommendation by staff. There is no right answer. There is no perfect answer. But staff tried to consider service delivery, maintaining the same amount of ambulances that the county already has. We didn't want to encroach on Dallas too much, where they had to consider reducing their ambulances available. This is a big mutual aid county. Not every one entity can provide the service necessary for their entity, so they depend a lot on others. And as a result, it's more of a system. It's not about each individual fire district who is providing that service. So this was the conclusion that staff came up with. There could be, anyone out there could argue with what we came up with. However, we felt this was what served the citizens of Polk County the best, and also allowed us to maintain the number of ambulances in Polk County. So I'll be happy to answer any questions you have of me, or if you want to allow the crowd to ask me questions, that's fine too. So this is a board decision, and it always has been. So we've vetted this discussion a long time. You know, it's kind of like a budget, in my opinion. It's a working document. There is subject to change throughout. The process won't be 15 years or 20 years apart, modifying service districts in the future. At least that's my belief. New technology will come into play that will help modify these ASA districts. It may require more policing in the future, because if you move to new technology, it may allow you to do other things outside your ASA area to, you know, get revenue and those kind of things. So it's an evolution of delivery, but I think at this time, this is the best option, at least from staff's point of view. So.
Greg, comments, questions from the board?
Well, this has been a long slog.
No question about it. I mean, I've been 4 years working towards today and consistently 2 years at helping advise everybody on what the county's process should be, what it hasn't been, and what it needs to do going forward. Commissioners in the past have not been as well engaged in the oversight and the monitoring of these systems as we should be. And that's where those changes are coming about. I feel it's important for the providers that are represented in this map to get the best opportunities that they can. But we're also concerned that we don't make a decision that we would regret soon. And again, Greg's said some of that, the concerns about huge impacts to Dallas. My suggestion at the ambulance service area committee level was that Dallas and Southwest Polk sit down and hammer this out. They tried, and it still left a gap in what this map would need to look like. And ultimately, it comes down to the Board of Commissioners' responsibility to finalize where these territory lines are going to need to be. I think the ASA 2 is a significant compromise. And I think that Dallas has given up quite a bit to get to that space. I think Southwest Polk is working hard to try and demonstrate they are demonstrating their capabilities for that kind of an assignment. I'm not particularly ready. Excuse me. I'm not particularly ready to give Southwest Polk their entire fire district, essentially, and for an ambulance delivery system, because they're a 2-year-old model that's growing and is trying to get its footing under it. And they've clearly made commitment that for the South area in ASA 6 that they'd like to serve, that they intend to keep growing out of the Bridgeport station. They've put it in writing. They've made that statement here. They're spending money towards that goal. I think that's great. They do have levy dollars that were dedicated towards that goal. So they're in process. They're moving towards that goal, and they are a viable secondary for Dallas. And we can certainly have some conversations going forward through the ambulance service area committee process about how we encourage revisiting primary versus secondary calls in the future through the operations plan, which is going to be updated and revised after this, which will be a process, by the way, that could take a year or two. I hope it doesn't take 2, but it's been known to happen. But we first need to get to a place where we have these areas designated as a place to get started, and then update the plan accordingly. And then finally, I would say to acknowledge the concerns about closest ambulance. It's a automated vehicle location system, AVL is what it's referred to a lot, is something that I think we're very fond of that idea. We'd like to see that technology investigated and perhaps pursued. There's a lot of complications to it across the system. Some of us are hopeful that we could see that kind of a system enacted for all of our ambulance service areas within a year. I'm skeptical that that would not happen within a year, but I'm hopeful that it would happen maybe in 2. And that likely will change the landscape some as we put that together. But there's a lot of evolution that needs to happen from here for all systems. So I think this is a good start. It's something I think that all of us can live with and watch grow and help support. And a lot of what happens, of course, with all of these areas is up to the voters as they determine how they're going to fund these systems, both fire and ambulance. So they're all fragile. But we want to make certain that we do our best to support all of their engagement and working together and maintain their collaborative partnerships. Because honestly, you all do work together very well. And so we're trying to do our best not to break that up and create more territorial controversy. So I support this map. I support what the staff team has done. Eric has done a great job of really scrutinizing these lines that have been suggested, trying to make certain that the areas, especially ASA 2, is not splitting properties, is not locking people in, landlocking people with roads that can't be accessed easily by a provider that's in an area. So I think that as you scrutinize this map going forward, and you will find that we're trying to be very thoughtful with regard to getting the fastest service to our citizens as we possibly can.
Great. I also support the recommendation by staff. Appreciate your comments, Commissioner Pope, and your leadership on this issue. I feel that because there was not a consensus agreement between Southwest Polk and Dallas, we took a more of a cautious approach here. And it may be incremental. I would love to revisit this in a year. Certainly we won't wait whatever 20 years since the last one was revisited, but the operations plan discussion and the role of the county to help convene these conversations. We're not a provider ourselves, but certainly we serve all of your folks in your service areas, and we want to make sure everybody's working together as efficiently as possible. We do not have a net loss in ambulances in our area. We maintain that net gain. And just want to also reiterate the importance of that mutual aid work. I've seen it firsthand in my community. There was a fire across the street from me at my sister-in-law's house, and I think I counted 5 agencies that were on scene in Falls City, which is remarkable. And that ethic of community collaboration is central, I think, to our work here. So again, this conversation will be ongoing, but and again, I appreciate everybody's attention to this issue.
I also support this. The amount of work and thought and study and conversations that covered this, there is no perfect answer, but I think this is a great compromise. It allows Southwest Polk to get their foot in the ground, establish who they are and where they want to become. But it protects the Dallas Fire Department for the class act that you are and your proven track record that you've got. I just think this is a great overall compromise for everyone. And again, I just want to echo that the fact that you all work together and cover each other in areas in time of need to protect the citizens of Polk County. That's the whole focus, is the people that live here and the safety and getting that quickest response to them. I'm one of those in the top of ASA 2. I was in limbo when Amity Fire Department and ambulance was closed. So the close ambulance for me would come out of McMinnville. This is going to be a huge improvement for where I live. So going forward, as Commissioner Pope said, did a great job describing this. This isn't set in stone, but is a great starting point, and we'll revise that periodically as opportunities arise or needs become available or necessary. So I support as well.
We can entertain a motion to accept the map as presented and then direct staff to formalize this in whichever way is appropriate. Yeah.
Formalize it with an order for subsequent approval.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we accept map as proposed and allow staff to move forward.
I'll second.
Any further discussion or comment?
Yeah, I have the other thing I want to make certain of, because we've gotten a lot of comment from people about, where ambulances should be parked and, how, or specifically for Southwest, and, how we should be directing that service to be operated. And I would tell you that for the record, that is outside our purview as far as I'm concerned. That is an operational decision that has to be made by the Southwest Board and its chiefs. And if anybody, and I'm saying this for all of the folks that are listening or watching. If you have concerns about where ambulances are placed and how they're performing and what their numbers look like, go talk to that board. That's their responsibility. And they need to hear from you as citizens. If you're not satisfied or you have questions or concerns about what, where, and why, they're the ones that you need to talk to. We don't tell ambulance service providers where to place their equipment. That's just something that you have to go to. And if you had concerns about Dallas, go to their manager or to their city council meetings, have conversations about that. But the Board of Commissioners doesn't direct equipment. So we're just trying to place a response area that is the primary responder in this map process. They're all responding to these areas now, and they do it more on a mutual aid process, all of them. And so this new assignment puts Southwest Polk in the primary responder role. And I'm confident they're still going to have Dallas as a secondary responder there. Yes, please. Yes.
Vice versa.
So, and others.
I'll just, one more statement that I echo, the call to look at ways in which we can leverage technology like an AVL system in the future, which should render these maps obsolete, and modernize our response system. So really interested in how we can do that and work together towards those goals. If the SA committee deems that appropriate. So thank you all again. If there's no further comment, I will call the motion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you all again, and this conversation will be ongoing. Okay, that concludes regular business on the agenda. Is there a need for an executive session today?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll adjourn at 9:41. Thank you all.